What's up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you some bangers for Monday Night Football. We're talking Monday, September 23rd. We actually have two games on Monday Night Football. We have the Jags versus the Bills. We have the Commanders versus the Bengals. I'm going to have two mainline player props for you guys to lock in that we're putting a full unit on. And then I'm also going to have three juicy ladder plays as well. So technically, it's 5 bets total. It's a little bit over, it's about 3 units risked or so. So it's not like you're risking a ton across these 5 bets, but we're just identifying blow up potential and putting our money where our mouth is. Now, it's been a pretty interesting NFL season so far. Week 1 was absolutely incredible. We had an amazing week 1. Week 2 was not so great. So if you look at our entire season results, everything looks okay. But if you look at our week 2 results, does not look okay. We were down over 5 units on our player props. We were able to be profitable with our early bets, albeit up, 0.85 units is not the most in the world, but hey, we'll take some profit there. So that was our week 2 results. On the entire season, things are okay, right? We're slightly in the green on our player props. We're slightly in the green on our underdogs. We're a little bit more than slightly in the green on our early bets, but we're hoping for better results as the season goes on. Obviously, only 2 weeks is a tiny sample size. It was just a rough week 2 after an incredible week 1. Hopefully that means week 3 is amazing. I'll recap all my weeks after Monday Night Football just so we don't get confused with the days of the week and stuff like that. So by the time you're watching this, hopefully we've already had an incredible Sunday. But as I mentioned, I have 2 mainline plays, 5 bets total for you guys to lock in that we can get right into. Let's not dilly-dally. Play number 1, we're going with James Cook. 20 plus receiving yards. You can get this at plus 110 odds at Fliff. If you don't use Fliff, I would take it at 25 plus receiving yards, and I would put 3/4 of a unit on that bad boy. Because I understand not everybody uses Fliff. Regardless, I really like this play for James Cook. Now, we were on James Cook receiving yards in the last Bills game. That was a Thursday Night Football, just total debacle against the Dolphins. We got burned, right? He did not hit his receiving yards prop. That was a really tough play from a game script perspective, right? Cook was really good in that game. I wish I'd taken his touchdown. I wished I had taken his rushing yards. Anything that we could have taken besides his receiving yards would have cashed. He had a long receiving touchdown for that in that game. I mean, long, maybe 17 yards, so not super long, but he had an awesome touchdown reception in that game. The Bills just did not need to throw the ball in the second half, right? Like Cook himself barely played in the second half. And if you look at that entire game, admittedly, you're going to see 1 target. You're not going to say, well, that doesn't scream future production. But again, you need to look into the game and you need to look into the game script. The Bills were just blowing out the Dolphins. And Cook was awesome in that game. He had a long touchdown run to begin the second half. The game was basically over. The angle for him being important is in the passing game is the angle that we made last week. It didn't come true, but that's still an angle that we trust moving forward, right? Again, he only had 1 target, but it was for a 17-yard touchdown reception. Josh Allen only threw 18 passes in that game in general, and he only threw 6 times in the second half. And the Bills had incredible success running the ball, right? James Cook, not Josh Allen, James Cook. James Cook ran for 78 yards on 11 carries. And it's not like it's 2 rough games in a row for James Cook in the receiving yardage prop either, right? He went over this game, or excuse me, he went over this receiving prop the first game of the year when the Bills actually needed to pass. And that was a game Josh Allen only completed 18 passes. So through 2 games, the passing work for the Bills, it's been a very low volume. It's not going to be able to continue week over week. And I do think that I mentioned, again, James Cook is going to be very involved in the passing game, right? The tight end, Dalton Kincaid hasn't gotten going. The receivers, it's hit or miss. Is it Keon Coleman? Is it Khalil Shakir? Is it Curtis Samuel? Is it Mac Hollins? I do think that it's going to be Russian roulette with the receivers, but that James Cook is going to have a consistent target share. And looking at the matchup here, the Jags, they're 0-2. They look gross. It's all their offense. Their defense has actually been pretty solid. I'm not saying they're elite, but solid. They're currently have allowed the 10th fewest rushing yards in the NFL, and they've allowed the 7th lowest yards per carry. But they have been giving up a little bit of work to the running back. They've allowed the 9th most receptions to running backs and the 5th most receiving yards to running backs. Now, that'll happen when you play Devon Achane, who got a ton of work in their week 1 matchup against the Dolphins. But either way, they've been giving up a lot of receiving work to the running back through 2 games. And again, James Cook's target numbers through 2 games aren't going to wow you, right? He only had 1 target in week 2 in a game that was almost a blowout from the jump. If you look at the Bills on the entire season, the target leader on the Bills only has 8 targets. Nobody has a target share, even at 20%. That's incredibly low. Again, it's only 2 games. Let's not freak out over 2 games. The Bills haven't needed to pass, and I get that the Jags offense has been gross through 2 games. It's just unlikely that the Bills are going to continue to just not need to pass. And in a normal game, Cook's probably going to get a reliable target share. He's not going to have, double-digit targets or anything like that. But the targets that he got in week 1 could easily happen in week 2, right? He had 3 targets, was second on the team with 3 receptions, and only one player on the Bills had more than 3 targets in that entire game. And, I made this whole point last week, but whenever a team has a ton of vacated targets from the previous year and the Bills have the second most, losing Stephon Diggs, losing Gabe Davis, the following season after all those vacated targets, the majority of the target distribution actually goes to the running back, right? The target share increases to the running back compared to the wide receivers or the tight ends, which is not what you would think, but the studies have been done. Fantasy footballers did that study. It's held true year over year. Teams with a lot of vacated targets the following year increase their target share to the running back. So that's kind of why I was on James Cook last week. It didn't work out, but I like it for this week as well. Let's hope he comes through. Next up, we're heading to the Commanders versus Bengals game, and I'm climbing the full ladder with Jamar Chase. I'm taking him over 76.5 receiving yards, which you can get at BetMGM at minus 115 odds, I should say, at BetMGM and at Hard Rock. And then I'm also laddering him up to 90 plus receiving yards for a half unit, 100 plus receiving yards for a quarter unit, and 110 plus receiving yards for another quarter unit. So we're risking 2.15 units total on Jamar Chase. If he hits his mainline play, if he goes over 76.5, but he doesn't get to 90, we will have broken even. If he gets all the way up, we will have very successfully climbed the ladder. So that's what we're going with in this game. I will say, if you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button, like, and comment on this video as well. So for the Jamar Chase play, obviously we're expecting him to blow up. Obviously, this is a super square play going up against the Commanders. I'm probably not, I don't really follow a lot of what other people are doing. I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be on the Jamar Chase receiving yards. It's just such a smash spot. It's such a get right game for Jamar Chase against the Commanders that I'm cool with it. I'm not going to let that scare me off. The Commanders are going to be a team that we're going to want to target all year because their defense is absolutely atrocious. It worked out for us last week. We targeted Malik Nabers. We laddered his receiving yards all the way up to 100. We should have laddered him up even higher because he had 127 yards and a touchdown. That was last week. Week 1, they allowed 37 points to the Bucs. Baker Mayfield threw for 4 touchdowns. Chris Godwin had 83 yards on 8 receptions. He scored a touchdown. Mike Evans had 5 receptions for 61 yards, and he scored 2 touchdowns. That was week 1. And then again, week 2, Malik Nabers blew up 127 yards, 10 receptions, and a touchdown. And keep in mind, the Giants have literally nobody else to throw to. So Daniel Jones threw for 178 yards in that game. 127 of them went to Malik Nabers. The Giants dropped back to pass. The Commanders knew they were going to pass to Malik Nabers. They still couldn't stop it. The Commanders still couldn't stop it. And this was a theme with the Commanders all last year as well. So it's not like we're just going off of a 2-game sample size. We're going off of a 2-game sample size plus an entire season. I get it, different coaching staff, all that stuff. Their talent is despicable, and that's the biggest issue. And you look at all the advanced stats for the Commanders this year, not even counting anything with last year. The 32nd ranked defense overall, that's last. There are only 32 teams. They have the 32nd ranked pass defense. That would also be last. And they have the 32nd ranked rush defense. That would also be last. So to confirm, they have the worst pass defense and the worst rush defense. They're worst in all of these categories. That's really bad. So when you look at Jamar Chase, there's no doubt that it's been a very, very slow start for Jamar Chase through 2 games. In week 1, the Bengals offense was just pathetic. They couldn't get anything going against the Patriots. Week 2, they played better. It didn't go to Jamar Chase, but that's what the Chiefs do. If you look at the Chiefs last year and even this year, they really shut down the opposing team's number 1 wide receiver. Zay Flowers in week 1 had a lot of receptions, didn't have a lot of yards. Jamar Chase didn't do anything. The Chiefs have stud Trent McDuffie, cornerback. Last year they had a stud. That stud guy, L'Jarius Sneed, they got traded to the Titans. So the Chiefs have just been known to shut down wide receiver ones. Could not be more polar opposite with the Commanders. And at least T. Higgins is back in this game. Andre Yosevich has showed up. Tight end, Mike Gesicki has showed up. So there are some options to hopefully take away coverage away for Jamar Chase. But, after him screaming at the refs, getting fined, clearly not being happy in week 2. This just screams get right game, squeaky wheel treatment for Jamar Chase in week 3. If you want to target his receptions as well, I wouldn't blame you. I decided to go with the yards, hopefully with a lot of big plays, but receptions, yards, all of the above, touchdown. There's really no way you can back Jamar Chase in this game. I decided to ladder up the yards. You know, if he gets 7 receptions on, or excuse me, if he gets 70 yards on 15 receptions, I'm going to be very upset. That's just the way things have gone for us. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We get some luck in our way. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. The last thing I'll mention is that if you like the picks that I gave out and you are interested in having all of them sent to your phone, I do have a Dub Club. It's only $5 a month. It gets all my picks sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. Whether you want to get the plays early before the odds change or you just don't want to always watch the YouTube videos, I point people to the Dub Club. But if you'd rather just get everything for free, you can on YouTube and on Twitter. I just like to give people the option, so check out the Dub Club. I'm also on Twitter at Modai, and that's all we got. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a good one.